Hello, Bloomington. I'm Mayor Tim Busse, and this is the Council Minute for the week of October 23rd. No council meeting this week, but the Bloomington Port Authority met on Monday night and talked about two items that I'd like to catch you up on. The first is the next proposed phase of residential development in the South Loop in Bloomington Central Station. It's early in the planning stage, so this project doesn't even have a name yet. It's referred to as BCS 5. The City Council talked about this project at our October 16th meeting, but this was the first time the Port had a chance to discuss it. BCS 5 is proposed to be an active senior apartment complex with 165 residential units. It's located in the northwest corner of Bloomington Central Station, directly west of the Hyatt Regency and directly north of the recently opened Carbon 31 complex. This project will continue the momentum of adding units in the South Loop and will help to continue to build on the unique mix of assets in the district. One of those unique assets is a new grocery store. It's called Oxendale's Market, and it's scheduled to open on November 1st. Projects like this add more people, which will help the new grocery store, as well as the restaurants and future retail in the area. The BCS 5 project is expected to cost about $67 million. And a quick note about that. To date, there has been $530 million of investment in the Bloomington Central Station district, with an extra $300 million planned. If you haven't been over there lately, it's worth the drive, just to see how things continue to change. As I mentioned, this development will be an active senior facility. Not a care facility, but rather a building designed for seniors looking to downsize who want to stay in or move to Bloomington. It's part of the housing market that's in demand here in Bloomington, so it's good to see developers responding to that need. It's still early in the project, but staff has been working with the developer and reviewing the finances of the project. Based on a preliminary review, staff is estimating that approximately $10 to $12 million of financial assistance in the form of tax increment financing would be needed to develop the project. The TIF, generated by BCS Development, would be used for public infrastructure, site preparation work, the below-grade parking structure, and land acquisition. Now, you know that providing housing that people can afford is an important strategic goal in Bloomington, and our Opportunity Housing Ordinance provides incentives and flexibility to developers to encourage them to include affordable housing as part of any new development. In this project, the developer has decided that rather than providing affordable units, they will instead pay a fee. That fee goes into a pool of money that is then made available to developers to incentivize affordable units in future projects. The developers in this case are already looking at that next future project. BCS 6, which will be right next door, and the plan is to make that project as 100% affordable units. And they will tap into that pool of money that's part of the Opportunity Housing Ordinance. There are a number of units in Bloomington Central Station that are specifically available to households at 60 and 80% of the area median income. And as I've pointed out before, the area median income is about $110,000. So that means households making $65,000 to $85,000 a year are eligible for those affordable housing units. Those are our teachers, our construction workers, and folks in our hospitality industry. The only official action on this was that the Port, like the City Council, directed staff to continue studying the feasibility of the BCS 5 project and to bring back a term sheet for consideration. So, stay tuned. There's more to come on this. The second item the Port discussed on Monday night is one you may have already heard about, as it's received a bit of media attention. The Port Authority approved a resolution to designate some buildings located at Southtown Shopping Center as structurally substandard. The City Council approved the same resolution at the October 16th meeting. Doing that allows for the demolition of the buildings while preserving the ability to establish a redevelopment tax increment finance district in the future. So what does all that mean? Kraus Anderson owns the Southtown Shopping Center and a former auto dealership right next door. They're looking to demolish the buildings formerly occupied by Toys R Us and Herberger's on the eastern side of the site, and they want to do it before winter due to the poor condition of these buildings. The buildings are considered structurally substandard, and Kraus Anderson will pay for and perform the demolition. Other substandard buildings on the site may be demolished at a later time. So why are the City Council and the Port Authority involved? To meet state law, the city needs to certify that the buildings are substandard. Doing that leaves open the ability to create a redevelopment TIF district in the future. A redevelopment TIF district could be an important tool in helping redevelop the entire site. There's been a lot of chatter about what folks would like to see on the site as part of a potential redevelopment. Bloomington staff is working closely with Kraus Anderson, and KA is looking at a variety of different proposals for the site but they haven't settled yet on a specific development plan. Ultimately, Krause-Anderson will come forward with a plan that meets the area zoning requirements and fits within the overall district plan that the city adopted a few years back. Any proposed project will follow the normal process, including review from the Development Review Committee, the Planning Commission, and the City Council. But it's important to note, as the private owners of this site, this is a Krause-Anderson development. As I mentioned, it's expected the old Herbergers and Toys R Us will come down before the winter. Be on the lookout for activity in this area of the city. Now it's time to answer your questions about Bloomington Forward, the long-term investment plan that, if approved by voters, would support 3 major community projects for better health, wellness, athletics, recreation, and improved natural areas. Voters are being asked about approving a funding source to build a new community health and wellness center, renovate Bloomington Ice Garden, and enhance and protect the 9 Mile Creek Corridor and Morin Central Parks. Specifically, Bloomington voters are being asked to consider a 0.5% local option sales tax to finance $155 million in bonds to pay for the projects as part of a citywide referendum. So, here's this week's first question. Who developed these community projects? Guided by community feedback, independent experts, and city staff, Bloomington leaders formulated a plan to invest in building a new community health and wellness center, renovating Bloomington Ice Garden, and improving the 9 Mile Creek Corridor. Feedback from residents continues to shape the plan. City leaders want to hear from you, so please share your questions and ideas. Next up, how does the city plan to pay for these projects? Cities have 2 primary ways to pay for any community improvements: sales tax and property taxes. To fund Bloomington Forward, the City Council has proposed a sales tax option, which would spread the cost of the projects among residents and non-residents. Voters will ultimately decide whether to approve a 0.5-cent sales tax to finance these projects. Now, if voters approve the sales tax, 65% of the 0.5-cent sales tax will be generated by non-residents who purchase goods and services at our local businesses, and that's according to an independent analysis by the University of Minnesota Extension Service. That means non-residents would contribute about $101 million for the projects through a sales tax. Next question. What happens if the sales tax referendum isn't approved? If the referendum doesn't pass, we'll explore other ways to invest in these projects. But any improvements would occur more slowly and would be smaller in scale and impact. Alternative funding sources would likely be limited, and costs will likely be higher as the projects are spread out over many years. And finally, where can I find more information about voting? Early voting is already underway, and of course the general election is Tuesday, November 7th. To view the questions that'll be on the ballot, and to learn more about early voting or voting by absentee ballot, or to find your polling place, visit bloomingtonforward.org/vote. Be sure to tune in next time for more answers to your frequently asked questions. In the meantime, there is much more information available at bloomingtonforward.org. That will do it for this week's Council Minute. Thanks for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe, Bloomington.